This week we're going to be talking about episode 6 of Paradise. If you want to hear our review, stay tuned. To our channel. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Tasha.
And this is Her Real Perspective, where culture meets cinema. So let's get into episode 6 of Paradise.
Yes.
It is called You Asked for Miracles. So at the end of last episode, we have the banner on the sky that says they're lying to you. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to see what Xavier has planned for his, I guess, revolution or like whatever you want to call it. We actually see Terry.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the beginning of the episode, we get another flashback. I don't think we're getting away from the flashbacks.
We are not.
Yeah. So, but it's nice. We get introduced to Terry. We see her interacting with Xavier. They have to address an issue at the school with Presley. She had this school project in which she's supposed to display something that is negatively impacting the world right now, and she wants to talk about food inequity. And the way in which she conducted her project was not well received by a white family. Apparently she distributed cake to all the students and then made all the students give it to this one kid, and they made him eat the cake. But this stands out to me because so the parents call them in and say, your kid did this project and made my child eat a ton of cake to distribute, to explain food inequity. Many parts of the country world don't have food like the United States. But where was the teacher? And the principal is like, your kid made him eat the cake. Where was the teacher? This was so dumb.
The other thing is, how old are these children?
Yeah.
Because, like, would you not at some point say, like, I'm gonna throw up?
Yeah.
I will not eat any more of this cake. Right? Like, I would be like, don't want to anymore. Like, I'm sick.
Yeah, it was a strange explanation of what happened. I mean, because they said all the students were demanding that
they were chanting.
Yeah, eat the cake, eat the cake.
Yeah.
And so of course, I won't say of course, but one child being put on the spot and everybody's ganging up on him, demanding him to eat the cake. I would imagine he'd eat some of the cake. But where is the teacher?
Yeah.
That says
maybe the teacher was also demanding. Probably not. Because I'm like, but yeah.
How can you allow this to go on?
Did this happen like in the back on the playground? Or was this like in the class? Because it sounds like it was in the class.
Yeah. So it was just so dumb. That was my first note. Like, what the heck? Okay, but you got to see, and Terry's going to bat for her kid. Like, why? I mean, she did the assignment, and it was very, impactful, and the kids won't forget about that you have so much when the rest of the world has so little. So, it was an interesting situation, and it was nice to see Terry.
Yeah. So that was my standout thing too. Make a scene was my thing. Not specific. Well, I guess it was specific to like this scene because it was like as they're leaving, they're like walking back to their cars. Terry is talking about how this kid used to bully Presley, and like not only did she like kill this project, she also like got payback for him being a bully to her. And so like my thing was like, oh yay, we get to see Terry, this is so great. But then I was like looking at their dynamic, Terry and Xavier. I'm like, okay, Xavier is NAACP pro-black and Terry is BLM pro-black. And I think there's a difference between those two. There is a difference between those two organizations. And Xavier is like, let's not rock the boat. We had to like pull all these strings to get her in here or whatever they had to do. Like, we don't want her like getting in trouble. And Terry is like, bump that. bump that kid.
Yeah.
He was a bully to her.
Right, yeah.
And she did the assignment. She did what they told her to do. And she got payback on her bully.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you want? What do you want me to say
Right.
about this? Like,
Yeah.
he didn't have to eat the fucking cake.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have to, and the parents are like, he's refusing to come to school. And she's like, how about you put his ass in the car and bring him to school?
Yeah,
Like, what do you want me to do about the fact that you're letting your kid not come to school?
Right.
I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
So I loved it.
Yeah.
Super, 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 super loved it.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to love Terry. I was
Yeah.
like, I love her.
Yeah. Oh, we also see that Terry has a job that she has to go to Atlanta frequently.
Oh my gosh,
She has to go to Atlanta frequently. Xavier's like very apprehensive about it. He doesn't want her to go, but she's like, hey, this is my job. So I'm leaving again tonight and I'll see you in 10 days essentially. And Xavier's like going back and forth with the president. Like, when is whatever is going to happen and stuff. And the president says, it's time for you to put your foot down with your wife. I mean, she can't be doing all this traveling. It's getting a little bit more risky. It's not as safe. Yeah. So he's basically telling like, stop the travel.
Yeah.
And he's
like, Xavier's supposed to go left. Yeah.
So what stood out to me is that Xavier doesn't tell his wife. I don't give a darn about no signed little like silence agreement or whatever. At this point, he's basically told you stop the travel. Like at this point, and you know that she's not gonna stop unless you give her a reason to. So why ain't you saying nothing?
Right.
I don't like this. And so now you're ticked off at the president, but you didn't say anything either.
Yeah. So that is a really good point.
Like, so that was just annoying. So that was and I got an angry face on it.
Mad.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's a really good point. And not really something that I thought about. I guess I thought about it in the sense that like he didn't give him any like hard, like concrete information, and so maybe he just felt like telling her like, hey, the president said that you should stop traveling so much, wasn't going to be good enough of a reason for her to actually stop traveling. But I do think in real life, I don't know, if that was me, I would have been like, just so we're on the same page. The president is saying you should probably stop going. Yeah. Obviously, you're going to do what you're going to do, but you should just know. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my thing. And like, he was like, yeah, you haven't given me a lot of details. It sounds kind of crazy. Yeah. And so maybe that's
very
like,
far-fetched.
Yeah, very far-fetched. So maybe that's why he didn't say anything. But at the same time, like, cover your bases, bro. Yeah. Like, give her all the information. Tell her to keep her mouth shut. And if she don't, then that's...
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so that part.
Okay, so my second point that stood out to me was... okay. Gabriella telling Xavier that, what's her name? Samantha is not a monster. Sinatra's not a monster. She's a mother and she's trying to take care of the people in her charge. And this made me just think about the fact that like white women will always be protected. They will always be believed. They will always be given the benefit of the doubt. She is doing horrible things to people. She's having people murdered, literally. And granted, Gabriella certainly doesn't know that this is what she's doing, that she had, you know, the explorers killed, that she had Pace killed, that she's likely involved in the president's death. She certainly doesn't know that, but it's like unwavering, like there is no way that she's involved with this. You were nuts. Like, what are you talking about? She didn't call him nuts, of course, but like, what are you talking about? She's just a mother. She's not trying to like, I don't know who you think you're talking about, but like, she's not this big mastermind, blah, 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 which is exactly what she is. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, calm down. Yeah. Black man.
Yeah, I know. Her, I have that on what didn't work for me, but it could be a point up here too. Like, what? And then, so she goes to see Sinatra after the sign is on the thing, like on the sky. And Sinatra's like, oh, you didn't know he did that? Oh, sleep with a man in your shower and think he'd tell you these things. So she's spying on this woman, and she's still going to bat for her.
Yes.
Are you crazy? She's like, Samantha, I picked you up off the ground.
Yeah.
And you're still loyal to this woman?
Right.
She's watching you in the shower? Like, what?
And she's like, men, am I right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, you have a problem.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I think towards the end, when Xavier, he gets her in the house and has her by gunpoint, Sinatra. And Sinatra says, your wife is alive. I think she's a liar.
So did. How can she? I have this later in here under like what didn't work, but like how could this be?
Yeah.
Because Presley opened, once she got the iPad open or whatever, she says, oh man, like 2 thermonuclear missiles hit Atlanta. How could someone survive that?
Yeah.
So you're a liar.
Yes. Yep. Just
unless
trying
you
to
had
get
a
over.
bubble there for her specifically to be in,
Right.
which is highly unlikely because she was on the phone like, hey, I'm like coming or whatever, like in the first episode. So, or second episode, whatever.
Yeah, and so it's crazy. And that thermonuclear bomb thing.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe that there was no weather event. Because why would there be a thermonuclear missile strike if there was no weather event?
Good point.
So what the heck is that?
Yeah.
So that was another
things I did not consider.
Yeah, I was like, that was my other note. Like, okay, thermonuclear strike, and that doesn't sound like a freaking tsunami.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What the heck? Okay, yeah. Okay, so my third point you already said is bitches ain't loyal. Gabriella went and told Sinatra the plan despite her. At first I was like, okay, like this, that, and the other. She like doesn't see this, she doesn't know, whatever. But you're right, she talks about how they were like in the shower together and she's like, you were spying on me. Oh my God, like what the hell? And then she still told him, like obviously, I was thinking if his plan worked and Sinatra ended up in the bunker or wherever they were with everyone else, what was going to happen? He wasn't going to go in there and kill everyone.
No, yeah.
So like, what was your point in even telling her like, hey, we should not go this way, this is a trap, or whatever she said, ended up saying to her in the car? That didn't even make sense to me because obviously, and if that is what he was going to do, he wasn't going to hurt you, right, Gabriella, like you would have been fine. So yeah, I was like, bro, you gotta be more careful with who you were giving this information to, because you think you know someone,
right? And then I was thinking that if Samantha had like kept her anger in check, she probably wouldn't be at this point, because when Xavier was talking to the group of, you know, his team now, they were like, yeah, Pace was an a-hole, but he definitely didn't off himself. Like, if she hadn't killed him, I don't think that everything would have been such an alert. Like, I know Xavier would have continued to research what happened with the president. Yeah. But she probably could have, like...
She would have flown under the radar, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now she just, like, brought all this attention to herself and started this whole thing just because she was so upset with Pace. She could have just, like, I don't know, negotiated with him or something.
Yeah, she could have been like... She could have said... Fine. Yeah. I'm gonna leave Xavier alone. Yeah. And that would have literally been the end of it because that's all he was asking. He wasn't like, I'm gonna kill you. Yeah. Or like, I'm gonna like kill your family or something. He was just like, leave him alone. He didn't do it. Leave him alone. Right. And they, at that point, what did he say? Is that what he said? At that point, they weren't even like looking into Xavier anymore as like the suspect for Cal's death, murder. Yeah. So like, why wouldn't you be like, yeah, we're not looking into him. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else I can help you with? Like, get out of my office. I know. Get out of here. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about. You're in here yelling in my face. Get out. Yeah. Yeah. And then he would have been like, okay. Yeah. And that would have been the end of it.
Yeah, but here we are.
But no, you had to be like, flex your muscles. Right. And be like, this bad bitch.
Yeah.
Like whatever you're trying to do.
Like show that you're.
And now you have all of this at your feet now, and you're scared shitless. She's like, oh my god, they're gonna find out that I like did the thing, and it's like, stand on business. If you're gonna be this type of like dirty, grimy piece of shit person, at least be like, yeah, I did it, and I did it for a reason. Yeah. As opposed to like, oh my god, like, let me be scared. I don't know. I thought that was so silly. Like, you're like, you have all the money, all the power, all the control. Yeah. You could literally just have him sent away. Yeah. And be done with it. Like, why are you scared?
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't know.
It was crazy. So, all right.
Yeah. So what did not work for me was Presley being able to just walk the fuck out of wherever they went to, the bunker, wherever they were, like the safe house. Yes. How is that possible? Yes. How did you, or not how, why did you not put someone, you have all these people ready to fight for you, risk their lives, whatever, to take down Sinatra. Yeah. Why didn't you say like, okay, you 10, come with me. Yeah. You are gonna watch my children. Right. Why didn't you do that? Yes. Because, who the heck knows? But we know that Sinatra is a dangerous person. She's having people killed. You should have had the foresight to say, I mean, maybe you wouldn't think that Presley would leave because that's idiotic, but kids don't listen. Yeah. But like, you should have had the foresight to be like, look, I need someone protecting my children specifically. The people that she was down there with the guy with the dog. Yeah. And whoever the guy was that answered the door. Yeah,
the bartender.
Mm-hmm. Hello? What are we doing? Right. Like, the first thing that Sinatra did when like all the shit started to hit the fan, she pointed out one person in particular and said, go make sure my family's fine. Like, go to my house, make sure they're good. Yeah. Like, that's your job. Everyone else we're going to do other stuff with, but you have this one job, go do it. Yeah. That was her immediate thought. Yeah. And that, like, boggles my mind that was not his immediate thought. Yeah. Like, yes, he got them somewhere safe, but, like, you don't even know if these people are loyal to you. Yeah. Like, they could have been a plant and ready to do something to your children because you didn't think to have bodyguards there or whatever. You're like the head of security.
I know. But yeah. That was my number one thing on what didn't work as well. I said like Presley leaving the group to go find Jeremy. And I feel like, I mean, she obeys her father, it seems like, for the most part. So for her to do this it seems a bit uncharacteristic. And especially when she saw the urgency in her dad's communication, like, go pack your brother's stuff, pack your things, we've got to get out of here. They took off their bracelets and all that, so she has to feel the urgency, and she's not like 10. Like, where kids are like, oh, it's okay, I'll do whatever I do. Like, you are old enough to have some type of, logic thoughts and things like that. So it just didn't work for me. Yeah. And I wonder if perhaps he should have given her more information. Yeah, okay. Because she is 15. Yeah. Certainly she would understand, like, look, I mean, I don't know that you would tell your 15-year-old, I'm trying to take down the person who created this world. Yeah. But maybe you would say, like, I just found out that Sinatra is very dangerous. She is likely the person who killed Billy and had something to do with Cal's death. You have to stay put. Do not leave. Do not whatever your rules are for her. Yeah. To follow, because I don't know, I feel like kids don't listen. Yeah. Like, that's like their job. It's like in their nature to be like, but let me go see. Yeah. Like, let me try this out. And so I feel like for that reason, like, just how we saw in Cross when they were like going to the cabin or whatever,
he took the time to say, like, this is the picture of the guy.
Right, yeah.
If you see this guy, he is trouble. You need to run.
Right, yeah.
You need to, like, get away from him.
Yeah.
And so maybe if he had done something like that, I mean, I guess there's an expectation that your kid is just going to listen.
Right.
But I know my kids are not going to listen. If I tell them something, like, I have to follow it up with reason and, like, give examples and non-examples of, like, this is what this means. When I say stay here and don't leave, I mean you stay in this room. You do not open the door. You whatever the things are, because kids are kids and they're not gonna listen. I don't know.
Yeah. My other, we already touched on it, but mine was Gabriella being loyal to this Sinatra lady after she found out that she has invaded her privacy and stuff. It's like, you're a freaking creeper and stay away from me. Like, what the heck?
Like, literally get out of here.
Yeah. So, yep.
Yeah. My other one was telling people who are outside of your circle your plan, or hinting at your plan, or like whatever. Like he went to the diner and explained to Gabriella exactly what the fuck he was gonna do.
Yeah.
And like in this conversation about like cows being slaughtered for meat, I'm looking like, why did you do that? Yeah. Why did you, number one, why? Why did you go? I mean, I guess you were hungry, but like, grab a freaking granola bar, bro. Yeah. Be quiet. Right. Have your plan. Move in silence. What is Lil Wayne saying?
Yeah, real killers move in silence.
Yes. Like, hello? Yeah. What are you doing?
I know.
Yeah. I was like, I mean, maybe I get like, okay, I'm gonna make her shaking her boots a little bit. And so like, tell your girl I'm coming for her. I got that part. Right. I did not get the rest of it. Yeah. Because you could have just been like, tell your girl I'm coming for her and left, instead of going through this whole freaking scenario of how cows are slaughtered, which is exactly your plan to do to these people. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's planning to slaughter them, but like to get them all in one space and then be able to do whatever it is that he's trying to do. Right. Why would you say that? Right. And why would you think that Gabriella is gonna be loyal to you? You really don't know her that well. Yeah. You guys had sex once, and like, for what? It was so gross. Oh my God. And now look at you. She's just like, oh yeah, he's like trying to get you to go in this thing, so don't do it. Like, okay, great. Now what?
So my last one that didn't work is Jane. So Jane is now on a mission to go find Xavier, and so Xavier, no one can find him because he doesn't have his bracelet on, but she knows where Jeremy is, and she knows, well, she doesn't know that Presley's with Jeremy. She's going to find Jeremy, I guess, to somehow use him to do something, but she encounters Presley while Jeremy is riling the group and letting them know that the government is corrupt, essentially. But Presley goes, or Jane goes to Presley and says, oh, I'm so sad about Pace, and I just want to eat ice cream and just hide away and hope the world goes back to where it was, or whatever. Can you come with me?
No.
Yeah. And so it's so dumb.
I'm not even supposed to be here, so no, I cannot come with you. Like, what are you thinking?
I know. And so why it just seems so weird to me that a grown woman is going to a teenager for comfort and is not alerting Presley that, this is weird. I don't need to be coming with you to comfort you. Right. Like, what the freak?
But I'm like, okay, this was like actually smart on Jane's part, because I feel like she did what a 15-year-old would do. Yeah. Would be like, I don't know what to do in this situation. Let me just like hide out, and like somebody else is gonna fix it surely. Yeah. So like, by the time I resurface, everything will be back to normal. Yeah. And maybe that spoke to Presley because she also feels like helpless and whatever. I don't really know, but I was like, on Jane's part, smart.
Yes.
For playing it this way.
Yeah.
On Presley's part, though, like, I really hope, I would have thought that she would have been like, that's really weird. Like, you are an adult woman.
Yeah.
You do not need me. Two things. You're an adult woman, therefore you do not need me to comfort you because you're the grown up.
Yeah.
And number two, I'm not supposed to be here.
Absolutely.
I cannot leave here and go someplace with you.
Right.
Because I'm actually supposed to be, like, in hiding.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I was very like, this is not smart. Dude, my last thing about what didn't work is Sinatra telling Xavier that his wife is alive. You already said this, but like, that makes no freaking sense. Mm-hmm. Number one, if you weren't a crazed maniac, why wouldn't you have told me before now?
Right.
Jerk.
Yeah.
And number two, if there were thermonuclear missiles, how could someone survive that?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So somebody's lying.
Yes.
And I feel like the information that's on that iPad is accurate.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah.
So like, you are making this up that my wife is alive.
Yep. And she's going to use that to stay alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he, of course, is grief stricken. He's going to be doing whatever he can do
Yeah.
to get her to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's smart on Sinatra's part to try to get him on side, and she's gonna string him along until he finds evidence that she's lying. And by the time he finds out, it's probably gonna be too late or something.
No
She's
kidding.
gonna have regained her, foothold or whatever. What worked?
Okay, so what worked for me was seeing Terry and Xavier together.
Yeah.
It was very short-lived,
Yeah.
but I really like seeing their dynamic.
Yes.
I really just like seeing Terry, like, here she is.
Yeah.
She's, doing her thing. I love that she corrected the guy that was like, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Collins,
Yeah.
whatever. She's like, actually, it's Mr. Collins and Dr. Rogers Collins, or whatever her maiden name is. Like, please come correct.
Yeah.
Don't start this with me.
Yeah.
And he probably knows. Surely
Yeah.
she said it before that day to him.
Yeah, and he
he's
still
like,
called her Mrs. Collins in the meeting. I thought she was gonna correct him again, but he still said it again. But
Yeah, because we don't care about Black women and whatever. So anyway, I really love that. I'm really glad that we got to see them together. I'm glad that we got to see them mom going to bat for Presley, because like, my kid's not about to be in trouble for this project that you said she had to do and it needed to make an impact. Well, she made an impact. Did she not? Sounds like she passed. I really love seeing that. And I see where like Presley gets some of her, cause Xavier is like, charming and charismatic and all of that, and we see that in Presley, like when she's like joking around with him, like in the first episode and things. I'm like, okay, like she's like, whatever. But I liked seeing that from Terry as well. Because it just gives us more insight into how how they raise their kids and like not being afraid to stand up to a bully, not being afraid to make a scene, because sometimes like that's what you need to do. So I really love that.
I what worked for me is Robinson and Collins working together.
I thought you were about to say Rodney.
I was gonna say Rogers, which I think because you said Rogers, Collins or whatever. Robinson and Collins working together. The woman who was kind of like, antagonistic towards him earlier in the show. So they had a nice, working relationship and stuff. So I think they worked well together. And Collins being in charge of the whole like group and stuff and getting rallying the troops. That was great.
I liked his little montage, little speech. It was good. Something that worked for me, but I hated was just showing that kids don't listen. Like Presley is so responsible.
Yeah.
She's obviously like when Xavier is like doing his run and they need to get up and get dressed and get ready for school, she's taking care of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
She's so responsible, which is why I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But I feel like for her to be completely obedient and like whatever would have been extremely unrealistic because we see that he doesn't give her any information, any like details. And so, I mean, gosh, I would have loved it if she would have just stayed where she was supposed to stay. But yeah, kids don't listen.
No.
And they are their own person. And like sometimes that bites them in the butt. And I don't know what's going to happen to her with Jane, a freaking trained killer. So that makes me nervous, but I feel like it was very realistic for her to be like, okay, no one's really watching us anyway. I'm going to go. You cover for me and I'll be back.
So I enjoyed Sinatra being intimidated and all like scared and stuff like that. I thought that was great to see her in this type of position because she's always like she's always got her, you know, keeps her cool and stuff, and just like nothing phases her and stuff. I feel like we saw more emotion here from her than when her kid was like sick and stuff. Obviously not like at the end when she was in therapy, but like as she was going through it, she's just very like matter of fact, like, no, we'll just get somebody else in here, treat him like, you guys, we need some more positive thinking here and stuff like that. But now she's like cowering, get it off of my screen, and you know, all the things. So I thought that was great, the change up in her demeanor and the power dynamic that she sees, that she is not like all powerful, you know, like there are people that do not trust her, and Collins has the trust of the people, you know, like I mean, not everybody, but you know, like everybody that he worked with, essentially, almost, like he's got like a whole, like a large group of people, you know, and stuff. So
and I think the townspeople, whatever, citizens, who were not with him, but were present when like the lights got shut out and all of that jazz, and they see all of these like government officials being whisked away and being saved, and they're like banging on the car, like, what about us? What about us? Like, what's going on? Like, that is going to hurt her. For sure. Because not only do you have all this power and you're doing all of these bad things, you actually just showed all of us that you don't care. As long as you guys are safe, then we're good. You don't care what happens to the common people that, you know, aren't high-ranking officials or whatever.
That was very telling. So, what about your rating?
My rating? Okay, so I took off half a point because Xavier was dumb and told Gabriella the plan. Like, without actually telling her, like, this is my plan. He told her the plan. And that is idiotic because you don't know where her allegiances lie. So, 4.5, like, they were almost there.
Okay. I gave it a 5 out of 5. No notes. I like thriller type, you know, thing, thriller action, and I feel like this was very thriller and action. You know, like when they like had, very suspenseful. Like they didn't know what was happening, what he was gonna do next. They had the like great like suspense music that you're like, oh, what's happening? What's about to happen? So it was really good. I liked seeing Sinatra on her, you know, on the back foot, I guess, like not knowing what was going to happen next, and Xavier having the upper hand finally and stuff, and like the scene where they shoot the fireworks. So they're their flares that they got from Air Force One. They shoot them up to the control tower, I guess, essentially, and stuff, and like scare the crap out of everyone up there and stuff. That's when they had to restart the city, essentially.
Oh my gosh.
That was a really great scene and stuff. So despite the things that didn't work for me, I was like, oh, this is a great episode. Oh my god, I was screaming and stuff, like, what the heck? So it was great. So
it was really good.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what are you predicting or thinking about for the next episode?
So we see in the next episode that Cal is like, they do another flashback, of course, and he's like, what the heck, this wasn't supposed to happen right now. You guys were supposed to give us some warning. So essentially, I think we're going to see like what actually happens when they need to get him out of there, like when they need to go to paradise and stuff. So, but as far as predictions for what's happening currently, of course, Sinatra's going to talk her way out of it and convince Xavier to let her live. But I don't know what, and then Jane, I don't know. Yeah. I really don't even know. Besides the fact that he's going to listen to her and like make some type of deal. You have to tell me where my wife is, or tell me how to find my wife. So that's just all I know. There's going to be some type of deal like that.
Yeah, I have no idea. Also, I'm excited for the next episode. I'm really curious to see what Jane is going to do. I feel like that is what has me on the edge of my seat. Is she going to kill Presley? Because I don't think that my heart can handle such things.
Oh yeah, but it's interesting and looking forward to seeing what happens next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Alrighty, well, thank you all for watching.
That's it.
And we'll see you next week for our review of episode 7. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.